benefit. Public servants take the power from the people and use it for the betterment of the people that gave it to them in the first place. There's a distinction. And you know when there are too many politicians at work, when the status quo is broken, and those same politicians want to keep just maintaining the status quo. Because to maintain the status quo is to help keep them in power.
Right.
Even if, in doing so, it doesn't change the lives of the people who gave them the power in the first place. So every once in a while, you need a public servant to step up and say, hey, wait a second, politician, change the status quo. Even if it puts your power in harm's way. Stop thinking about preserving your position. Use your position for the betterment of the people that gave it to you in the first place. Yes. Now you might say, well, how do you know the status quo is broken? Well, do you all think the status quo is working?
No.
Okay. Because I'm going to tell you right now, when I was growing up in Schenectady, they call that upstate. In Schenectady, my parents, they worked for General Electric. When I was growing up, as a kid that cut coupons, put clothes on layaway, iron patches on my pants, working class. When I was growing up, I actually believed that I had a better than 50-50 chance to end up with a better quality of life than my parents, with hard work and a good education. And they had good jobs that allowed us to work our way up over time into the middle class. The truth of the matter is, the stats backed it up. Most of us actually did do better off growing up back in the 90s. The truth is, today, most kids growing up are going to be worse off than their parents. So the whole idea of upward mobility, the whole idea of improving your life over time, the whole idea of the American dream is actually now working backwards for people. And we wonder why folks don't believe in democracy anymore. Well, if you don't have economic freedom and opportunity, what good is it to call it democracy? If you don't feel the effects and the impact of democracy, it's just democracy in name only. And that is a problem. That is a problem. Now, 1 in 5 kids across New York, the great blue state of New York, a state governed by Democrats, are growing up in poverty. And half of those kids are growing up in deep poverty. 1 out of 4 New Yorkers right now cannot afford basic necessities, from housing to groceries to health care to energy bills. 1 out of 4 New Yorkers, 2 out of 5 households in New York cannot afford basic necessities. Oh, and by the way, in case you didn't know, we have the 3rd largest economy in this country of any state, $254 billion. If we were an independent nation, we'd be the largest, the 9th largest economy in the entire world.
Wow.
So we have money, we have resources. You might ask, well, where is it going?
Yeah.
Another stat, the largest wealth inequality gap of any state, New York.
Damn.
So if you ask yourself, where's the money going? To the top. That's where it's going. To big corporations, to the ultra wealthy, at the people's expense. And the reason why this happens over and over and over again, the reason why we can't build affordable housing, the reason why we gotta keep having folks go bankrupt over health care, the reason why our child care workers are making poverty wages and 1 out of 10 are living in poverty is because we have too many damn politicians that want to work themselves to corporate power to make sure they keep themselves in power rather than fighting for the solutions that are going to actually lift up all communities. This happens over and over again. And it's happening, by the way, right here in the great blue state of New York. Now that happens because there's no accountability in our system. When you have a lot of folks who all share the same party, and they're all in the system, and they all have the power, all they gotta worry about is all falling in line together and protecting themselves, even if the outcomes of doing so leave the people behind. Because who's gonna hold them accountable if none of them are willing to challenge each other? not going to work. So you have to have accountability step up every once in a while and say, hey, we could be better. Because the truth of the matter is, we can point at Trump all day long, and we should. But let's be clear, fighting against Trump is a lot different than fighting for the people. And when you don't fight for the people, when you don't deliver things that the people want, someone like Trump becomes a lot more appealing to the people. So why don't we just stop talking about how bad he is and actually ask ourselves, how do we get better? How do we actually show that democracy can work for the people? Because the poison pill is not Trump to our democracy. The poison pill to any democracy is grotesque levels of economic inequality. That is the poison pill. When 2/3 of this country literally are living paycheck to paycheck, and half the folks can't survive a $500 medical emergency bill without going into debt, when the top 1% own more wealth than the entire middle class, it's hard to keep believing that democracy is working for you, because it's not.
Right.
And here's what happens. We got folks who step into power and say, let's solve for housing. Let's figure out how to build affordable housing. And the solution they want to say is, let's give tax credits to big wealthy developers to build affordable housing in our community. How's that working? Yeah, it's not. But you know who helps? Who? The developer helps the politician helps the developer. Insert public servant. How about we take those same tax credits and subsidies and have a statewide rental assistance program that ensures that everybody who's eligible for rental assistance, by the way, 7 out of 10 New Yorkers right now are eligible for a HUD, rental assistance, but the state won't pony up enough money to make sure we have a statewide program. I would. Or how about the fact that we have first-time homeowner grant program to ensure that our young people who actually want to buy a home for the first time to get assistance on a down payment. You know something? The average age of a first-time homeowner right now is 40. Do you know what it was back in 2008? 28. 28. So now you're a young family trying to make your way in this state. You can't even figure out how to get in the game, how to even chase the American dream. You've been priced out of the American dream. So why would you keep believing in the American dream? Why would you keep believing in democracy? We need to have robust investment in housing, and the state needs to actually step up and build permanently affordable, off-market housing that isn't wedded to the idea that profit has to be the answer. Let's talk about healthcare, because I think we all know no one in this room is actually paying for healthcare. You know what you're paying for?
Insurance company.
That sounds right. But you're also paying for insurance. You're paying for insurance. And do you know what insurance is? Insurance is how you get scammed. Insurance is built on a profit model to figure out how to make sure you don't get the claim that you're owed. How many of y'all have tried to file a claim and had to go through how many loops, and then you get denied?
Yep.
Then you appeal, and you got to go through how many appeals just to access the claims that you've been paying into all this time, because the insurance companies make it their business to make it difficult on you. And yet still we got so-called public servants, better known as politicians, that want to continue to butter the bread of these insurance companies and never say, hey, why don't we just get rid of the insurance marketplace and actually have truly universal health care that everybody can access is actually comprehensive? Why don't we do that? We don't do it because the insurance companies have their hands way, way down deep into the pockets of our political actors. Child care workers. We talk about having universal child care. That's what everybody talks about. Let's have it. Okay, well, how do you think you're going to get it if 1 out of 10 child care workers are living in poverty? Okay? Literally living in poverty. So the folks that are taking care of our kids can't get paid enough to not live in poverty in the great blue state of New York? How does that make sense? There is legislation right now in Auburn that would ensure that we pay child care workers a living wage. The governor won't sign that legislation. I would sign that legislation. We've got to be in a position to make sure that we can keep and retain our child care workers. workers and recruit those if we really want to have a statewide system. And the same thing goes for pre-K. Here we are in New York, we don't even have universal pre-K statewide to make sure that all of our kids are properly invested in. If we're going to invest in anything and get a return on investment, it needs to be early childhood development. That is the biggest mode of investment and return on investment. Early childhood. Instead, this is what New York is doing right now. We're spending $11 billion a year trying to recruit select businesses from outside the state to come to our state and build jobs in our state. And we want to call that economic development. And yet, study after study every year shows that investment actually never works out. There's actually never any meaningful jobs that pay people living wages. If anything, communities get priced out. Why do we not just take that same billions of dollars and directly invest it into our communities, into our small businesses, into our small family-owned farms, into our nonprofits, to make sure that we incentivize local actors to put together plans to break the cycle of poverty that persists across generations. I cannot believe that we live in New York, in a blue state, and I have yet to hear a thoughtful plan that actually is determined to break the cycle of generational poverty in this state. How is that the case? How are we accepting this reality here in New York? I grew up in the midst of generational poverty. I know what it means to be trapped where you are and not have a plan, to not have folks figuring out what it means to break that cycle year in, year out. It's a travesty that we keep accepting this, and it's all because of greed being normalized. That's really what it boils down to. You want to make money as a billionaire? Make money as a billionaire. You want to make money as a multinational corporation? Make money as a multinational corporation. But don't tell me you can't pay more. I don't want to hear that. You can't pay more. You can't pay more when it means that folks are going to go hungry if you don't. You can't pay more if it means that folks will go bankrupt over health care if you don't. You can't pay more if our children are literally going to school hungry because you don't want to pay. It doesn't make any sense to me. And we have to get to a point as a society, and certainly here in New York, where we want more because we deserve more. We have our immigrant community right now being ripped apart, families separated. What are we doing about it? Besides tweeting. There's legislation right now that we can sign on to, New York for All.
Right.
It would ban 287G. We would ban it. I've called for a special session. We should be back in Albany right now, raising revenue to make sure that we actually can offset the economic harm that's being caused by that big, ugly bill. And we pass New York for All, which we protect our immigrant community so they can't be being scapegoated by the right. That's what happens. They want to other everybody else and scapegoat them, to have them overlook the fact that we're all catching economic hell right now. I served a 90% white rural district in upstate New York. 2 terms. No Democrat ever won this district before I ran in 2018. Right. Trump won the district by 7 points 2 years before I ran and won it. Now folks might say, how'd you win? How did you convince folks in upstate, in a white rural community, that Trump won? How'd you convince them? Because they're catching economic hell too. And we have too many elected officials who don't know how to tie their economic pain to everybody else's economic pain. Whether you're a teacher, truck driver, whether you're a farmer in upstate, a small business owner, a home care worker in the Bronx or in Harlem, we have to figure out how to tie all this economic pain and tyranny into one place and understand that we gotta fight and not have us scapegoated by difference or immigrant status, but actually say every single one of us right now is being marginalized. We have too many damn politicians who are reinforcing it. Right. So, we have an opportunity right now here in New York. We really do. I'm not here to mess around with this. I'm not here to worry about, what's gonna happen to my career a decade from now or 5 years. I don't care. Before I ran for politics, I was a lawyer. I had never run for anything. I had been a lawyer for 7 years. Before that, I had been a hip hop artist after law school. So I got a diverse background of experience. I ran because Trump won in 2016. I felt compelled to serve, not to make a career out of this, but to serve the people. I felt like the floor was collapsing. The problem was, I thought Trump was the problem because I had never really been inside of government. I had never really run for anything, so I just assumed he must be the issue. I was wrong. He's a symptom. The disease that's causing him is bipartisan corruption. And this idea that we have been bought and paid for by special interests, entrenched power that has nothing to do with the will of the people and everything to do with maintaining and protecting power at the people's expense. And if we don't change that, if we don't rectify that, then Trump's going to keep on being Trump. So, miss me whether we got to fight against Trump. Of course we do. What the hell are you fighting for? And who are you fighting for? And if we can't get that right, God save us. So let me say this in conclusion. I love New York. I think New York is the centerpiece of this entire fight. It starts and ends with us. You think about what New York has been historically. You know, this is where the NAACP was founded, the suffrage movement, Stonewall LGBTQ plus community, the labor movement, environmentalist movement, Ellis Island, the home of our immigrant community from the world over, the financial capital of the world. I mean, everything you want and need is right here in New York. We have a long legacy of progress in this country. We are the tip of the spear when it comes to perfecting our union here in America. But do you feel like New York right now is leading the way? Do you feel like our voice is shining through and cutting through all the noise? I don't. And it's a shame to me that right now, when we need moral leadership more than anything else, we are morally absent in this situation. That is not what New York is and what New York can be and ought to be in this moment. And so I'm here to let you know, we have a choice here. I'm giving us, we all have a choice here. We can either keep doing what we're doing and maintaining a broken status quo, or we can actually hold ourselves accountable inside to ourselves what more we can do. And how much more we're willing to give up and sacrifice collectively in this moment. The only way in my estimation to move forward is to hold ourselves accountable and to hold power accountable. And you do that with love. Love. Not hate, not division, not ugliness, not cruelty. A strong, unconditional, unwavering love. The same kind of love that allows us to overcome hate across history. That is how we do it. Not a Cupid love, a strong and demanding love. The kind of love that a parent has that holds their child accountable when they see that child act out of pocket. The kind of love that says, get back in line. The kind of love that says, you can be better. You deserve better. The kind of love that says, we can't make excuses for our mediocrity. We have to push ourselves to be our very best. Now is the moment for that. And I don't know of a better place, a better stage than New York to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable and hold our country accountable and certainly hold our so-called public servants accountable. So thank you for having me. I appreciate your Harlem. We got a lot of work ahead of us. God bless.